When Jonathan Antoine first opened his mouth to sing, time seemed to stop. At just 17, trembling on a stage where millions were waiting to judge him, the world expected nothing. Yet what they heard drew comparisons to Pavarotti. And behind that breathtaking sound lay a childhood marked by cruelty, loneliness, and a secret that would emerge decades later. So while his rise looked like a fairy tale, the truth was a long, painful fight to understand who he really was. Born January 13, 1995 in Chigwell, Essex, to John, a police inspector, and Tracy, a homemaker, Jonathan appeared to have a comfortable start. But by the age of 4, he was already the target of relentless bullying. His weight made him stand out. Food was thrown at him in the cafeteria, and teachers often found him crying alone. And what seemed like simple teasing ran deeper, with doctors later describing trauma-induced hyperphagia, where ridicule and emotional eating fed extreme weight gain. So by 5, he was 40 lb overweight, and by 6, his weight had doubled what it should have been. Even then, something remarkable was unfolding. By 6, he showed perfect pitch, found in roughly 1 in 10,000 people, able to hear music once and reproduce it flawlessly, remembering entire operas note for note, and his mother recalled how he hummed long, winding melodies to calm himself after brutal school days. Not just escaping, but composing, and even when depression took hold by 8. His mind seemed wired for music in extraordinary ways that experts later likened to a form of musical savant syndrome. The turning point came at 10 during a routine choir audition with a substitute teacher, Mrs. Williams. When he reluctantly sang and what poured out didn't sound like a child at all, but like an adult tenor. Pavarotti trapped in a child's body, she would say, recordings revealing a natural vibrato that many spend decades learning, and within weeks he was delivering adult solos without microphones, strong enough to fill a 2,000-seat hall. A boy who had felt invisible, suddenly impossible to ignore. By 13, his voice had broken, and instead of fading, grew stronger. His West Hatch High School teacher, Jenny Ewington, recognized it immediately and chose Bring Him Home from Les Miserables for the 2010 Stratford and East London Music Festival, where his performance against dozens of competitors earned him Young Musician of the Year, a title that felt like deliverance after years of ridicule. And in 2011, he was invited to sing Ave Maria at the Royal Festival Hall in London for Rotary Youth Makes Music, filling that prestigious space with ease at just 14, signaling he wasn't merely a local prodigy, but on a path to the world stage. When he auditioned for the junior programs at the 4 major London conservatories, all accepted him, and he chose the Royal Academy of Music, acceptance alone, exceptional, as only a handful are selected from thousands, then plunged into intense weekends of 6 hours of technique, 4 hours of theory, 2 hours of performance coaching, initially overlooked by peers for his appearance, but soon undeniable, and within 3 months, he was cast in the lead for The Magic Flute, the youngest in the Academy's history. In 2011, fate paired him with a confident 16-year-old, Charlotte Giaconelli. At his teacher's urging, her stage poise complementing his overwhelming yet fragile voice, and their first duet, The Prayer, stunned even a small classroom audience, leading to gigs at churches, weddings, retirement homes, pubs, $50 each at first, but tears and standing ovations followed, and by early 2012 they were performing nearly every weekend. Charlotte pushed for Britain's Got Talent, while Jonathan resisted, terrified of nationwide ridicule over his size and appearance, and after 3 weeks of persuading, she submitted their application minutes before the deadline. So when they stepped onto the London Palladium stage in 2012, Jonathan shook. Simon Cowell muttered a cutting aside to guest judge Carmen Electra, and then the music began. The prayer stunned the room. Simon's jaw dropped. All 4 judges rose to their feet. Cowell compared Jonathan to Luciano Pavarotti and called him a future star. And the audition, uploaded March 24, 2012, went viral. The most watched audition of the year, headlines dubbing him the new Susan Boyle. A bullied teen turned overnight household name. Coming second in the final might have crushed another act, but for Jonathan and Charlotte, it launched something bigger. The very next day, after the May 2012 finale, Simon confirmed a 1 million record deal with Psycho, extraordinary for two high schoolers. And by September, their debut album, Together, hit the UK top 10 before its US release a month later, blending The Prayer, Caruso, classical staples, and crossover tracks. Selling over 250,000 copies, an achievement few even winners matched, while smart scheduling tied media to X Factor's peak. For Jonathan, still wrestling with self-image, the attention thrilled and terrified, and their second album, Perhaps Love, arrived in October 2013 on Sony Classical, leaning further into crossover with strong reviews and a UK chart peak at number 5. Behind the smiles, tensions grew. Jonathan's heart belonged to opera and classical fidelity, while Charlotte leaned into musical, theater, and contemporary styles. Meetings in early tone. 2014, about a third album devolved over song choices and direction. Touring battered Jonathan's health and anxiety, and in February 2014, they announced their split. Bittersweet as it was, it opened the door for Jonathan's solo run. At 19, he accepted an invitation from the legendary Placido Domingo to the iTunes Festival. Surreal for a young singer raised on the great tenors, and months after fearing to perform without Charlotte, he stood beside an idol and proved he could carry a stage alone. Later, 2014 brought his debut solo album, Tenor, produced by Anna Berry, known for Andrea Bocelli and Jose Carreras, a statement that the shy TV contestant had become a serious classical artist, topping the Classical Artist Albums chart and climbing to number 13 on the UK pop list. Critics praising the velvet tone and maturity. U.S. audiences soon followed. He performed at Muhammad Ali's Celebrity Fight Night with dates in Arizona, California, and Florida. And in August 2016, he released Believe, showing range from Puccini arias to a soul-stirring Hallelujah and original music co-written with Chris Broom, including A New Tomorrow, a deeply personal reflection of struggle and hope, with reviews spotlighting how naturally he moved from heroic operatic lines to intimate phrasing. By 2018, he was ready for a full U.S. solo concert at the Fred Cavely Theater in California, and in 2019, he headlined a special 3-part show, Beyond the Curtain, at Canada's Winter Garden Theater, singing everything from Disney classics to Nessun Dorma, his first public performance of the aria that defined Pavarotti, a symbolic crossing from nervous teen to commanding tenor. With success came heavy expectation, and by 2020, he aimed higher, releasing Going the Distance in June with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, produced by Grammy winner Greg Field, structured in 3 acts that mirrored his life's arc and, for the first time on record, embracing Nessun Dorma, capped by a PBS concert special with choir and orchestra that presented him not as a former talent show act, but a world-class tenor. Still, health battles persisted, obesity had shadowed him since childhood, and though Weight Watchers in 2013 helped, touring often derailed discipline. American fast food everywhere. Schedules relentless, until January 2022 when he made a simple, unbreakable rule, 10,000 steps every day, even if it meant pacing one room for an hour. And the consistency changed his energy. I feel stronger and healthier than I have in 10 years, he said, a measure of how long he had carried that weight. Then, in early 2023, he shared something private. After his 27th birthday in 2022, he was diagnosed with autism, a revelation he described as falling into a daydream, a recontextualization of an entire life, explaining years of anxiety, social withdrawal, sensory overwhelm, and in speaking out, first in Australia and later on World Autism Awareness Day, he turned the moment into advocacy, reminding us that we all get our own little matrix hidden just behind our eyes, and urging compassion for the lens others live through. By 2024, he showed no signs of slowing, releasing by request the Diane Warren Songbook, collaborating with one of pop's greatest writers whose music has been voiced by Celine Dion, Aerosmith, and Lady Gaga, and at 29, Jonathan Antoine was no longer the boy who shook on the Britain's Got Talent stage, but an artist forged by tragedy, resilience, and discovery, whose greatest achievement may not be albums or ovations, but the decision to seize his life and embrace who he truly is, So from a bullied child in Essex to a tenor recognized around the world, his story proves fame never tells the whole truth. And now that you've walked his path, what moved you most? The early struggles, the meteoric rise, or the resilience after the autism diagnosis? Tell us below, like this video, and subscribe for more stories of the people you thought you knew.